Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, wonderful. Wow. It's great to be here and to be speaking to all of you and having this be an interactive service as well. I invite you with those yellow cards or 3x5 cards that if you hear of anything that you think might be important for you to take a note of about the prime directive and some of the practical ways in which to express it in your life, jot them down, and then we'll talk about them later after I give my message. So just go ahead and make sure you have them just handy, just in case. I know sometimes when I'm listening to a speaker, oh, that's a good idea, but I don't write it down and then it's gone by the end. So this is a way the teacher in me is inviting you to keep notes on it. So my talk is about living the prime directive. So how many of you have heard of the prime directive? Okay. Star Trek, yes. Those of us who are Star Trek fans like Reverend Donna know about the prime directive. And what was the prime directive about? Anybody know?
Don't interfere.
Don't interfere with anybody who's developing. So I thought to myself, well, that's a good one for Star Trek, but what is it about for the Earth? Do we have a prime directive? And what is a prime directive? Anybody have a guess about what the prime directive might be? What is the definition? What would you say when you hear prime directive? What was that, Monty? God's directive, something this is the official definition. It's a rule or order that's most important and must be followed above all else. I thought to myself, well, what is it for the Earth? What would it be? Anybody have a clue?
It's on your altar.
Well, here's a hint. Here's a quote. Does anybody recognize this quote? Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Yes, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. That should be a hint about what I'm feeling is our prime directive. It's the emphasis on love. That's the most important rule, which points to the higher version of what we might know on this earth as a golden rule. And that speaks to me as the prime directive, a way out of the futility and brutality of hate into civilization, kindness, and recognition of equality and divinity for each person. So, though there's no official prime directive that I could find in my research, I did find the evolution of what I believe to be the prime directive in my estimation. In fact, it's the philosophy of great masters and advanced civilizations for a long time. There's evidence that the Golden Rule has been the basis of humanity's moral code since the earliest times. The Golden Rule was commonly understood to mean treat others the way you want to be treated. In ancient Egypt, the goddess Ma'at, who was the goddess of truth and justice, her directive was that which you hate to be done to you, do not do to another. Zoroastrianism, one of the most ancient of religions, said do not do others what is harmful to yourself. Confucius in China, 500 years BC, said never impose on others what you would not choose for yourself. Socrates in Greece, do not do to others that which angers you when they do it to you. And even the teaching from the Islamic Quran says, wish for your brothers what you wish for yourself. So the teacher Jesus, often called the master of love, took it to a new level when he was asked about what was the most important commandment. He said, there is but one commandment in two parts. Read that with me. Love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and all your strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. This is the commandment greater than this. Wow. And elsewhere, Joshua ups it even further by saying, love one another as I have loved you. How? And what a profound statement that is. His love was and is present and available to us as we are willing to tune into the frequency of love and compassion for ourselves and for our brothers and sisters. It is a wellspring of love, the one that Martin Luther King spoke about as the transformative power of light. And we do celebrate his birthday tomorrow. It's the 30th year that this day has been a holiday now. I believe that the golden rule is the prime directive in this world. It is how we are meant to be living here on earth with each other. Love one another. Many people would say that they subscribe to the golden rule, but it's not always easy to apply it to daily life, and we often make exceptions. So let's take a look at it from the unity or new thought perspective. We just said this a little while ago, but let's say it again together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the infinite, living, loving presence of God. And we truly believe it, but practicing the presence of love in the moment can be challenging. And I've come up with 3 reasons that are obvious to me in my life. Most of us were raised to think that God is outside of ourselves, right? As the being who created us and then kind of left us to our own devices, and to whom someday we'll go to when we die. In fact, I saw a billboard the other day that said, want to meet God? Text while you're driving. While the message was meant to have people pay attention to their driving and not cause accidents, it is a subtle hint that our culture believes that God is outside of ourselves and not really present in our life. Another reason is that I think we all still have issues of worthiness. We can't quite conceive of ourselves as this divine presence. Thank you for that introduction, which emphasizes that we are. Think of a way that we say to somebody as a put down, who do you think you are, God? Yeah. Right, right. And when you say yes, they're like, ooh, ooh. But Jesus said, love thy neighbor as thyself. And Reverend Thomas Coates, Judith Coates' late husband, used to say, but God help your neighbor if you have a poor opinion of yourself. So that's the worthiness part. And the third reason is the lens through which we see the small r reality of our world. If we allow ourselves to become overwhelmed with unloving circumstances and what is not right with the world that's portrayed on media 24/7, we might start living at the lower frequency of fear, and we doubt God's love is real and ever present. So loving all others is a really tall order, even when we know about oneness. But I say, what if we really believed and lived as if God, our love is inseparable from ourselves, and that we are all one in the mind of God and the allness. What if we consciously put the love directive into action at the center of our lives to the best of our abilities daily? So, where is God? Look around the room. God is in every single one of us, not one exception. Love leaves no one out. In the oneness, no one is disposable or unimportant. Spirit only sees us through the eyes of love. Take a breath and take that in. Spirit only sees us through the eyes of love. That's what I tried to have in those songs that I chose for today. And thank you, Shar, for making them so beautiful. There is no judgment in oneness, as oneness can't judge itself. We're one. We can't judge ourselves. In fact, we live inside the love of God. There is no need to invoke God to come into us. All we have to do is align with the frequency of love to remember this oneness and then express it. And we're going to do that today in the meditation portion, the alignment and expression. So Joshua tells us each one is living, walking love. Each and every individual that you see is here to example divine love and to remember home. That is truly what we are seeking, to know the place where you are okay, where you are always accepted, where no matter what you are and what you do, think or say, you will always be loved. I learned this lesson well in my life when I was actively counseling with people, that no matter what the presenting problem or how chaotic a person's life seemed to be, we had to establish a safe place to feel the person to feel accepted and heard before any healing could begin to happen. Also, each person's story and reasons for their situation need to be respected as they make perfect sense from their point of view and their experience in life. So, what about relationships that are not so harmonious? Again, the commandment of loving your neighbor comes into play, and you can substitute mate, relative, boss, child in that place of neighbor. What if the person turns out not to be who they first presented themselves? What if they betray your trust? Oh, what if they reject you? All of us can cite instances in our lives where relationships do not seem as loving. Can we still find a way to love them? In my life, the challenge to see love has been with 3 different employers. I've had a long career, and 10 of my employers were wonderful, supportive, and caring people over my 50+ years of working. But my life lessons had 3 different kinds of difficult relationships with authority figures. In each case, I had to learn to stand my truth and get out of the situation once it had completed the experience. In one, I was the whistleblower on a person who would have to learn his own lessons from fraud and deception. Another was using his power for sexual harassment. And the third was regarding power struggles that I recognized he and I had had in previous lifetimes. And what does this have to do with loving your neighbor? Well, now with a distance of a few years, I can see them all as short interludes in this long, positive work life. And I see that each of them was probably doing the best that they could with their life lessons. And perhaps I, like all of us, had volunteered to be part of the scenario of learning the lessons and healing for them and for myself, since I no longer have ill feelings to them and I wish them well. I do feel like I have gotten into the love my neighbor part. So Joshua tells us, and this is a beautiful quote that I often look at, quote, "You can love the one who is most difficult to get along with, and in so doing, you recognize a capacity that you did not know you had, a capacity to love that which you do not even like. You can say, but I can love you and allow you. I don't have to like you. I don't have to be in your presence, but I do wish you well. I do love you." And then you find that, hey, if I can love that person, I must have greater capacity for love than I ever recognized. And with that comes an awakening where you begin to realize, you know, if I can do that, maybe others can do it too. Maybe there is love in the world, and you know that there is, unquote. So, getting to love. How do we get to love? Some of the examples I've been giving, reframe your judgments and get to the love we need to see life from the other person's perspective. If only for a short time. You don't have to believe it for a long time. You just have to touch that place where you're both understanding what is happening to that person. Understand and empathize, but don't get bogged down in the story. Don't put your energy down to that same level because it helps no one. When we can move to the consciousness of unconditional love, not at the same level of the perceived problem, but moving up into a higher consciousness to the frequency of love and transformation, acceptance, and knowing that all is God in expression. Remember we said that God is everywhere. Believe that there is good in every situation, even if it's not obvious in our reality at the moment, and that we may actually never know the reasons behind any situation. We don't have to know. God knows. At the level of God mind, our higher self, we are all living in the center of God's infinite love. We are it. The prime directive is deeper than first meets the eye because, folks, my neighbor is myself. Each of us is an inextricably linked creation of the same source energy of Mother, Father, God. God is all that is. This is even closer than the idea of neighbors or brothers and sisters. Because as close as neighbors or brothers and sisters are, there is still the experience of separation if we look at it from the traditional family experience. Perhaps twinship is a better metaphor for how closely we are linked. Love your neighbor as yourself, the capital S, because my neighbor is myself. My brothers and sisters are myself. And we are all extensions of the one creative principle that we call God or Spirit. So what does this mean in my everyday life? What about all these people in my life? How can they be a part of me when we are in separate bodies, seemingly hold different values, and perhaps want different things in life? How am I supposed to love them? Some days it's hard to wrap my mind around these truths, but the way to understand them is through the use of metaphors. The metaphor that Joshua uses that helps me to visualize our oneness is to see God's creations like a vast ocean. And we are each a sparkling wave in this ocean, thinking of ourselves as separate. We are part of this ocean of being, coming up for a lifetime as a wave or the foam on the wave, and then rejoining the ocean when we are finished with that experience. This metaphor comes close to describing our earthly experience of the higher truth of how we are all connected. One of my teachers, Dr. Jean Houston, said that we are all beings that have leaky margins. And truly, if you consider our permeable auras and our electromagnetic energy, we all blend into each other, even on an energetic level. So what does it mean for our relationships with others in our lives? We are defined by our relationships to others, are we not? We are children, parents, friends, co-workers, and how we react and interact with others has a lot to do about how we feel about ourselves and how we learn about our own qualities and capacities to love. If you weren't here, I wouldn't have anybody to love, right? Think about all the people. Relationships. Marianne Williamson, who has written the commentaries on the Course of Miracles, says this about relationships. Relationships represent assignments made by divine intelligence, bringing together those who represent the greatest opportunities for learning from each other. Think about that. Every relationship, there's an endless stream of potential healing, both for the people joined in the original encounter and for countless others that we will meet along the way. In the Course of Miracles, they are referred to as laboratories of the Holy Spirit. Every relationship is a temple of God, blessed with love and innocence, or desecrated by fear and guilt. Which one it is up to us, unquote. Wow, for me, that means that each person that I meet is not only an aspect of myself, but a divinely perfect match for me to learn from about love. And I'm looking at each one of you. Joshua tells us, you are coming to the place of understanding there is no separation between yourself and the one who sits next to you, the one who sits across the room from you, or seemingly miles away from you. There is no separation. When you recognize that everything happens for a grand purpose of awakening, and you take the deep breath, let's take the deep breath, and abide in peace, you abide in the spirit of your holy self. Another way of putting it is that we have the divine appointment with each person in our lives. Think about that. It's not random. And it's a reflection of an aspect of my self, capital S. It's an exciting position. And as I look around my life at the people in my family, friends, and in this room, I wonder, what have we agreed to do together in this lifetime? How can we resolve what we need to learn? And how do we get to love, that prime directive that we were meant to do and be with each other? I am so curious about each one of you and our potential to create together, because I know that you are an aspect of my God self. And I behold the Christ in you. Wow, what a wonderful idea to have seemingly separate bodies so that we can experience this kind of love, right? I feel your love, and I want to give it back to you as we express our divine oneness. So, what does living from the divine directive look like? It's kind of a summary. Seek first to understand the other's perspective. Don't assume that you will ever know all the facts. See God as an opportunity for love in everyone, and see everyone as an opportunity for God. Respond with love. Don't be swayed by the media and the storytellers that it is human nature to be violent and deceptive and greedy. Remain in your stance of love, despite all the illusions. Love your neighbor as your highest self. Dear friends, let's resolve to come back to this golden rule over and over. Love yourself and also your neighbor as yourself. As we evolve in our understanding of this prime directive, so we bring about love joy to earth. We claim our divine birthright and co-create heaven on earth in great love and joy. So I'd like to conclude this portion with a quote that I have loved for a while. You want to read it with me? When we see the beloved in each person, it's like walking through a garden, watching flowers bloom all around us. By the Master Ram Dass. So you have your 3x5 cards, and I'd like to invite you to put down 3 ways that you could bring this prime directive into action in your life, or even 1 or 2, however many you want. And we'll give you about 3 minutes here, and then we'll talk about what are the ways that you can bring this into your life. And if you're finished with that, on side 2, I'd like to give you a clue to take back with you, a affirmation that says, respond with love. You've heard that love is the answer. Well, this is how to do it. Respond with love. So put that in the back for yourself. Put it somewhere where you could see it. So who's willing to share 1 or 2 of your takeaways from today? Jonah. Oh, hold on a second. Let's get you a mic so that we can have the people on Zoom be part of it. Do we have folks on Zoom, Bill? Okay, good.
Hey, I think it's important to maybe in random daily situations, just mention something beautiful that you see to anyone that you're talking to, because maybe we don't get enough of that sometimes.
Perfect. Absolutely. Sandra, you wanted.
Thank you for this today. And what I felt just like this warm blanket coming over me, that when we speak to one another, that we're always thinking in our heads while we're not really listening to what the other one is saying. We're always making the assumptions or judgments or reacting to a past hurt that brings it back in, and those triggers. And so I have to say, before I react, what's my trigger?
Mhm.
And love. I like bringing people together to respond in love and not with anger. And so what you did today, I mean, I don't know if you were reading my mind or something, but it was beautiful. Thank you. It's like clearing the space for love to come in. So thank you.
Exactly. Thank you, Sandra. And you know, when we truly listen to another person, it takes skill and it takes concentration, because we can think 3 times faster than we can talk. And if you just drift off and don't really focus on what that other person is saying, you're going to be miles off, and that person will know that you're not really listening. So practice listening as a way to love. Diane.
And on that note, that's why God gave us 2 ears and only 1 mouth.
Yes.
Remember, their path is not mine to walk, and to be less judgmental.
Perfect. Anyone else? Prem Daya.
These are a little weird, so forgive me, but conscious breathing, being aware in each moment of the breath coming in and out, that inspiration and aspiration, and love, compassion, and understanding for myself, fall in love with myself,
Beautiful.
and let go my ideas of what love is and let it teach me.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you, Prem Daya. Absolutely. Letting go of what we think love should look like for another person. You don't know, but you can still send your energy of love.
Tell the truth and assume your desires to be the best, that you can see the end results in every situation through love and forgiveness, but being truthful.
Absolutely. That's how you get to love. You don't get to love yourself if you're always saying, oh, but, oh, yes, oh, no, oh. No, stay in the alignment of I am love. I am here to give love, to share love. Did you want to say something?
When I was a young mother, I asked someone who I thought was wise, how do I convey love to my children? Not just say, oh, I love you, I love you. How do I truly, what is the essence of conveying love? And I was told, and I agree with this, that children need to be seen and heard. We all need to be seen and heard. And I talked to Eva last week about a problem I was trying to solve in a pharmacy. And I was all caught up in feeling like, oh, I don't matter. They're not going to help me. And then I was doing that circular thinking and just losing sleep over it. And she talked to me and she armed me and deepened me, because she pointed out that people have their own problems, and I have no idea what's going on really inside that person and what their perspective truly is. And so anyway, I left here and I went to the pharmacy and I asked a question, and the lady at the counter acted frustrated and nervous. And then a couple counters back, there was a pharmacist who overheard what I was asking. He said, "Oh, you have to call your insurance company and da 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 da." And I started saying things like, "Well, I know this is asking a lot, and you guys have you're so busy and so much on your hands. Is there a time I could come back?" And then I just let it flow. It wasn't premeditated, but by the time I was done, the pharmacist and the cashier both crowded forward. They couldn't get enough of it. Okay. They just wanted to talk and talk. And I was ready to go. My questions have been answered. So I think I have a ministry out at Walmart, because I go in there with my dog and I just will truly listen. I will take as much time as anybody wants to take with me. They want to tell me about their dog, or, these different stories. And so I was already on the path, and then I got caught up in my own thinking. And I want to add, during Glenn's sermon last week, he said, "How can I just say, I love you? And if you don't love yourself, how are you going to receive that love?" And I'd like to say, you guys loved me until I could learn to love myself. And I truly believe this. We understand each other. We see and hear each other. And this is where we go. I'm swimming in the ocean of love. This is the real deal. My heart is full. I can't wait to go out there and do some more of this loving stuff. Thank you, guys.
Yay, Jenny. It's our loving stuff that the world needs. And any more before we go into our meditation? I want to thank you. Okay, Jonah.
This is about the prime directive of the golden rule, and actually maybe like related to the Star Trek prime directive. I think that we should all reflect on how important it is to discern if what you're doing for someone else is actually in their best interest, or if it's some kind of selfish desire that you have yourself put upon them. For instance, the missionaries that colonized the New World might have said that they were doing the greatest thing for these savages. Just something to think about.
Yes, that does, that prime directive from Star Trek did originate partly from the idea of the consequences of colonization. But think of the way that we colonize ourselves and how we can decouple from that by not buying into what society thinks we should be doing or how we should be doing it. Think of the example of Martin Luther King and the bravery and courage of all people of color, all people who have felt themselves wronged, and what courage it takes to stand up and say, I am worthy. I am a divine child of God, and I deserve to be loved and respected. So let us keep that in mind as we go forward in our lives. And in our meditation, I would really like to bring that love into our experience, because we've talked about it, we've felt some about it, but I would like to do a meditation where we actually just listen to the beautiful music, and you can watch it too. Our friends at Unity in Seattle did a few years ago. Go to the next one. It's called The Heart of the Mother. And I'd like us, just a second. I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought I just, okay. What I'd like us to do as we sing, I am in the heart of the mother, I'm in the heart of Father, is to practice how we send love. And let us focus in on those beautiful people in California who are having such a difficult time now. I know I have friends who's had a hard time there. My daughter's friends lost their homes. Let us, since we are one and there is no separation, I invite us in this, while listening to this song, to send love directly to those people there. One way that I keep myself focused about sending love is do what Joshua had told us to do as a way of sending love, is first put our hands together like this, and then open them up and put them right before your heart. So your one hand is in front of your heart and the other one is sending out. Imagine that you're sending rays of life and light to people there who need it, who need to be bolstered in the desperation that they're feeling right now. So now we can go to the heart of the mother.